Welcome to the English Paper Podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and entertaining parts of the English language, idioms. Have you ever listened to a native English speaker and felt confused because the words they used did not seem to match the meaning they intended? Perhaps someone told you to break a leg before an exam or a performance. Maybe you heard someone say that a task was a piece of cake. If you translated those expressions word for word, they would sound very strange. Why would anyone want you to break your leg? And what does cake have to do with an easy task? The answer lies in idioms. Idioms are everywhere in English. They appear in conversations, movies, television shows, books, songs, podcasts, social media posts, and even business meetings. They are one of the reasons English sounds so colorful and expressive. However, they can also be challenging for learners because their meanings are often different from the literal meanings of the words. Today, we're going to explore what idioms are, why they are important, where they come from, and how you can learn them effectively. We will also examine some of the most common idioms used by native speakers and see how they fit into real-life situations. Let's start with a simple question. What is an idiom? An idiom is a phrase or expression whose meaning cannot be understood simply by looking at the individual words. Imagine that someone says, "It's raining cats and dogs." If you think literally, you might picture animals falling from the sky. Of course, that is not what the speaker means. The expression simply means that it is raining very heavily. This is what makes idioms unique. The words create a special meaning that goes beyond their dictionary definitions. Many learners wonder whether idioms are really necessary. After all, English already has clear and direct ways to express ideas. The truth is that idioms are not absolutely necessary for communication, but they are extremely useful. Native speakers use them naturally and frequently. Understanding idioms helps you follow conversations more easily. Using idioms appropriately can make your English sound more natural and fluent. Think of idioms as a bridge that helps you move from textbook English to real-world English. Now let's explore some common idioms. One of the most popular is a piece of cake. This means something is very easy. Imagine a student leaving an examination room. A friend asks, "How was the test?" The student smiles and replies, "It was a piece of cake." In other words, the test was easy. Notice how much more colorful this sounds than simply saying the test was easy. Another common idiom is once in a blue moon. This expression describes something that happens very rarely. For example, if you have a friend who lives in another country, you might say, "I only see him once in a blue moon." You are not talking about an actual blue-colored moon. You simply mean that you see him very infrequently. Let's continue with another useful expression, hit the books. Students often hear this idiom. It means to study seriously. Imagine a student who has an important examination tomorrow. Instead of going out with friends, he decides to stay home and prepare. He might say, "I need to hit the books tonight." The phrase creates a vivid image even though nobody is literally hitting books. Another expression you may hear is under the weather. This means feeling slightly sick or unwell. If a colleague calls the office and says, "I'm feeling under the weather today," they mean they are not feeling healthy enough to work. Native speakers use this phrase frequently because it sounds softer and more conversational than simply saying, "I am sick." Now let's look at a short conversation. Imagine two friends talking. Sarah says, "Are you coming to the party tonight?" David replies, "I don't think so. I'm feeling a little under the weather." Sarah responds, "That's too bad. Get some rest and feel better soon." Notice how naturally the idiom fits into the conversation. One of the most interesting things about idioms is their history. Many idioms have fascinating origins. For example, the expression "break the ice" means to start a conversation and make people feel comfortable. Centuries ago, ships sometimes became trapped in ice. Smaller ships would literally break the ice to create a path. Over time, the phrase came to mean removing social barriers between people. Imagine you are attending a conference where you do not know anyone. A speaker might tell a joke at the beginning of the event. The purpose of the joke is to break the ice. It helps people relax and feel more comfortable interacting with one another. Let's move on to workplace idioms. Modern workplaces are full of them. One common example is think outside the box. This means to think creatively and consider unusual solutions. Companies value employees who can think outside the box because innovation often comes from new ideas rather than traditional methods. Another workplace idiom is learn the ropes. This means learning how something works. When a new employee joins a company, they usually spend time learning the ropes before taking on greater responsibilities. The phrase originally came from sailing, where sailors had to learn which ropes controlled different parts of a ship. Here's another useful idiom: on the same page. This means that people understand and agree about something. Imagine a project team discussing an important assignment. The manager might ask, "Is everyone on the same page?" In other words, does everyone have the same understanding? Idioms are also common when talking about success and failure. For example, "the ball is in your court" means it is your turn to make a decision or take action. This idiom comes from sports, such as tennis. If someone says, "I've given you all the information, the ball is in your court now," they mean the next step depends on you. Another expression is miss the boat. This means to miss an opportunity. Imagine a person who had the chance to invest in a successful business years ago, but decided not to. Today, the business is worth millions. People might say that he missed the boat. Let's discuss some idioms related to money. One example is cost an arm and a leg. This means something is extremely expensive. For instance, a luxury sports car might cost an arm and a leg. Of course, nobody is actually paying with body parts. The phrase simply emphasizes the high price. Another money-related idiom is save for a rainy day. This means to save money for future emergencies or unexpected situations. Financial experts often encourage people to save for a rainy day because life can be unpredictable. Now here's an important question. How can you learn idioms effectively? The first method is exposure. Listen to English podcasts, watch movies, read books, and pay attention to conversations. Whenever you encounter an unfamiliar idiom, write it down, include the meaning, and create your own example sentence. The second method is grouping idioms by topic. For example, learn travel idioms together, business idioms together, and sports idioms together. This makes them easier to remember because your brain connects related ideas. The third method is practice. Learning an idiom once is not enough. Use it in conversations. Write it in a journal. Create stories using it. The more you use an idiom, the more natural it becomes. Many learners make the mistake of trying to memorize hundreds of idioms at once. This approach rarely works. Instead, focus on learning a few high-frequency idioms each week. Quality is more important than quantity. If you truly understand and use 10 idioms correctly, that is far more valuable than memorizing 100 that you never use. Before we end today's episode, let's review some of the idioms we learned. A piece of cake means very easy. Once in a blue moon means very rarely. Hit the books means to study seriously. Under the weather means feeling slightly sick. Break the ice means to make people feel comfortable. Think outside the box means to think creatively. Learn the ropes means to learn how something works. On the same page means having the same understanding. The ball is in your court means it is your turn to act. Miss the boat means to miss an opportunity. Cost an arm and a leg means very expensive. And save for a rainy day means to save money for the future. Idioms are much more than strange expressions. They are part of the culture, history, and personality of the English language. Every idiom tells a story, and every idiom you learn brings you closer to understanding how native speakers truly communicate. Don't worry if you cannot remember every idiom immediately. Language learning is a journey. Focus on steady progress, stay curious, and enjoy the process. Thank you for spending your time with me today on the English Paper Podcast. I hope this episode has helped you understand idioms in a deeper and more meaningful way. Keep listening, keep practicing, and keep expanding your English vocabulary. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, take care, stay motivated, and remember that learning English is never just about words, it's about connecting with people and ideas from around the world. Goodbye, and have a wonderful day.